Hello. It is Thanksgiving. It's that time of the year where we all should be giving thanks and be grateful. So, I'm going to start out this with you today just to tell you about myself and how thankful I am, as well as a summary of our week 4 work. So, I'm very thankful that I have this holiday season to be grateful for, beginning with my health, family, church, my church family, and friends. And I'm actually grateful to each of you as I witness your growth and your development and the extreme care that you are giving to the sensitive nature of this course. Continue to apply the guidelines to each assignment, and you will finish this course strong. I realize the topic was very sensitive, but what I drew from week 4's discussion brought water to my eyes. Some of you talked about the discriminatory actions by individuals who bear no responsibility whatsoever for the deeds of their ancestors, and yet they actually received wealth from the land holdings of white individuals. And it's been researched and found all the way back to history that the practice of inheriting through the colonization of enslaved populations benefited those individuals greatly. European colonizers accumulated wealth through the disposition of indigenous people in territories where there was strong racism. I also learned from some of your discussions that you shared how enslaved African people have value far beyond the free labor which they were providing to the whites and have been doing so for over 200 years. Enslaved persons were owned, and the slave owners could benefit by selling their males, their females into prostitution, by opening up breeding plantations. They were able to use them to help them to pay their taxes. Back taxes that they owed were paid for by their slaves. They were also able to use a slave for collateral to receive a loan. They loaned out their skilled slaves and were paid for their labor. They auctioned them off to pay debts. And they received inheritances that they passed along to their children and their grandchildren. I also learned through your discussions about a Mississippi family who, on their relative's deathbed, explained how she had to give away her family members just as if she were giving away household items. How devastating that must have been. I also learned about the devastating story about a woman named Rachel Dolezal. Rachel was a woman who falsely claimed to be a different race so that she could acquire a leadership role on an organization. And also keep in mind of the descriptors. I noticed some of you like to abbreviate descriptors when you're describing people. Be very careful of that. Let's try to be as specific as we possibly can. So if it's a black person, it's a black person. If it's a brown person, you can even ask a person how would they like to be described, especially if you're writing about them or something of that nature. And then being excluded from equal access to opportunity. Blacks had to succumb to their opportunities being passed over, as well as women. There was discrimination against a woman, particularly in the area of job opportunities. So you see, over 200 years, and actually 400 years, we celebrated the ending of slavery in 1619. So areas like homeownership, equal housing opportunities, all of this was brought out in your week 4 discussions. And again, as I mentioned to you earlier, I was going through them without a dry eye. Some of you use the Reese article as a source, and it did do a very good job of explaining the historical aspects of slaves being forcibly taken from their homelands to bolster the livelihoods of white individuals. So I won't go on and on and on with this because, again, I do get a little melancholy when I think about it, but I know we all have our burdens to bear, and we are covering so much sensitive information in this course as we continue our journey forward. I would just like to say to you, bravo. Your discussions were wonderful. And the only thing I deducted this week was if you did not do the minimum, which was 3, and some of you actually went beyond the call of duty and you did more than 3, way more than 3. And I think that's amazing. You're all documenting, you're putting your sources in. You might be putting them in 2 and not putting them in all 3. And I went ahead and gave you full credit as well. So I thank you again for being in my class and hanging in there with me on this sensitive topic. And just know if you have any questions, you need to contact me, please do so. And I will contact you back and we can have a phone conversation. We can have a conversation like this, where we can be in Google Meet or Zoom if you prefer. But I do not take your work lightly because I know you're all working hard and I can see it. So I thank you and I wish you all the best of holidays. Bye for now.